of democratic form of government. So he he established, right, that particular government you can consider. And this was happening in October 1918. Fine. But whether though he was trying to establish a government, right, for that purpose, he tried to appoint, right, he appointed Prince Max as the chancellor. And as I said, he was in the favor of more democratic form of government, through which in which the parliament will have most powers and through which the progress will be attained. So that was the purpose. Right. But it was very late, right, to go for such kind of government formation. So in the next month, that is in the month of November 1918, there had been the revolution broke out. And in this, now Kaiser has to leave the country. So he escaped to Holland, wherein he abdicated. Then the Prince Max has to again resign from the post of chancellor, right? And then there had been another party called Left Wing, whose leader was the Friedrich Ebert, so who was leader of the left wing Social Democratic Party, who had become the head of the government. And then after 2 months, in January 1919, there had been general elections in Germany, in which the Social Democratic Party emerged as a single largest party. And as a result of that, their leader, the Friedrich Ebert, who was who had become the first president of the country. And basically he was having some Marxist ideas, right? And he was believing in the socialism, and that further he was believing that the socialism will be achieved through parliamentary democracy, right? So that was the case you can consider. So the whatever the new government, right, which had new government which had come, so they agreed to have a framing of new constitution by, and then it was put before the meeting, right, called National Assembly. So this was being held at Weimar, right, which is nothing but the place in the Berlin. Sorry, it was not in the Berlin, because of the revolution and the earlier incidences, the Berlin was still in the situation of torn. So it was conducted in the Weimar, and therefore it was given the name as the Weimar Constitution, and further the country called the Weimar Republic, right? In fact, sorry, that particular constitution is known as Weimar Republic. So unfortunately, it was lasted only till 1933, right? So basically, you can consider from 1923 to 1933, because in 1933, the whole powers have been taken over by Hitler. So there had been followed by the Great Depression, right? Jagtik Mahamandi, followed by the Great Depression, which was started by the crash of Wall Street in October 29. So which had made disastrous effects in Germany also. Fine. So, and the government was not able to take any kind of active decision or to cope up with the situation. And by the end of 1932, the Weimar Republic seemed to be on the verge of collapse. Meanwhile, Hitler and his National Socialists, who were called the Nazis, right? Who were called National Socialists, who were called the Nazis. They have a propaganda, and they propaganda of blaming the government, and then they started uh, blaming government for the ills to the Germany because of the effects of the Great Depression. And further, they have setting out the solutions called Nazis solutions to all these problems. And because of that, they got some sort of uh, popularity. Right? So, in this particular case, the president, right, in 1933, you can consider the President Hindenburg appointed Hitler as chancellor, and as soon as he became chancellor, afterwards he saw that the democracy ceased to exist. Right now, towards dictatorship, he started to he started to go towards dictatorship. Right, so seizing democracy was on his radar. Right, so that is what the point of, or the turning point of the country, of this particular country, you can consider. Right, so further in this, uh, Weimar Republic was at the end by 1933, right, and he ruled from 33 to 45, so till he get died. Right, so uh, the people of Germany were freed only after his death from Nazi tyranny. Right, नाहीतर ह्या नाझिझम मध्येच everyone was living. Right, so that is what you can consider as far as the Nazism is concerned. And another point as far as their party is concerned, right, there had been a deputy Führer called Hess, Ruth Hess. In his one of the speeches which have been broadcasted, he said that Adolf Hitler is Germany and Germany is Adolf Hitler. So he who pledges himself to Hitler, he pledges himself to Germany. Right? So this is what you can consider. So they thought about this particular point. So another point we have considered, that was economic depression of the world, and that is what you can consider here. So there had been a decline in trade, which is commonly known as depression. So this Great Depression between 1929 to 34, starting with an agricultural recession, which was followed financial panic as well as collapse in the Wall Street, right? And it has really affected very badly. So its effects were not only on US but also some other countries as well. So, but the effects in USA were so catastrophic, right? And in order to cope up with the effects produced by this recession or Great Depression, the government of America, right, under the leadership of Hoover, failed to make any kind of impression for the crisis. So any kind of active action was not being taken by this, was not taken by the government, and it was stated that they failed. So later on, obviously nobody was surprised that in the next elections the government is going to be changed, and this has been happened. So Republicans lost the elections, that is Hoover lost the elections, and then Democratic Party won it, right? That is what through this party the Franklin Roosevelt had become the president, right, who had introduced very good kind of policies to put back on the road of recovery the country, right? So whatever the new policies, new deals which have been brought and tried, so that country will get completely recover by it. There had been a Great Depression, right, which had affected financial institutions and money markets across the globe. So different countries have badly affected by this particular, say, depression. Another point was that the exports in the industrialized countries, factory closures, massive unemployments have been produced as a result of this particular economic depression, right? So this is the point you can always keep in mind, which is really important as far as uh, the world's scenario because of economic depression is concerned. Fine. So that is what you will be having in this. Now, since we have touched or we have mentioned two things, that is World War One and World War Two. So quickly, I will just go through this so that you will revise the things which have been involved in these two wars, and then probably we will end up with this particular part of revolutions, which you can call it as, let's say, um, modern world, right? History of modern world, right? In which we have considered different kinds of, say, revolutions, right from industrial revolution, American revolution. I think later on we consider, in fact, instead of American, we have considered French revolution, and in which we have considered American revolution. There had been unification of Italy, unification of Germany, right? Then Russian revolution, Chinese revolution, Turkish revolution. Then very recently we considered the economic depression of the world, right? Uh, Prior to that, we considered fascism in the Italy, Nazism in Germany, right? Uh, and then now we can consider these 2 points: World War One and World War Two, and then you will end up the modern history of the modern world, right? You can always have uh, the questions on this particular part as well. So as far as World War One, right, is there someone who can say something about this one quickly within a half a minute? What exactly the scenario was? Anyone? Aditya Bhingre, Aditya Jadhav, Danesh, Aryan, Sahil, Vaibhav, Atish, sorry, Aditya Suryavanshi, Ajay, Ayush, Chandrasekhar, Elroy, Rahul, Ritesh, Shardul, Tanishq, Uddhav, Vedant. Anyone? Is there anyone who is attending this one? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine.
हाँ
So
वो सर
thank you for your response. Anything which you would like to share about this one, however small it is, and in fact, I'm expecting very small, right, for a very short time. But if you could hit the target, then I would be very happy. Nobody knows anything about this. Okay, let's consider. So there had been two powers. First power is called central power, and the second power is called the allied power. Right. So it was a battle between these two powers, central power and uh, allied powers. So who was the part of central power and who was the part of allied powers? So in central power, there have been Germany, Austria, Hungary, Turkey, and later on Bulgaria had also joined. central power. Whereas in allied power, there had been England, right? You can consider United Kingdom, right? Basically, France, Serbia, Belgium, later on, Japan joined it. Further, Russia joined it, Romania joined it, and at the last, United States of America had also joined the allied powers. Fine. So that is what you can consider. In next scenario, in this, China got joined, right? Anyway, we will come to that point later on. But these two, central powers and allies or allied powers, right? So now, what were the causes of war, right? So there have been different causes, though I have put here only one point, right? I will quickly just go through different things. So there have been different reasons called the militarism, right? Narrow nationalism or competitive patriotism, economic imperialism, right? Then rivalry between let's say it was called Anglo-German rivalry, right? And the chart of William II, and there had been lack of international organizations, right? And obviously there had been some of the other immediate causes, right? So to begin with, Austria was in favor of the local war, but as the time passed, the situation had become more grave, where other countries have jumped into the fray of this particular war, right? Where in Germany, Austria, Hungary, Turkey, Bulgaria were on a side, right? And they have been called as the central powers, whereas on other side there had been England, France, Serbia, Belgium, Japan, and Russia, right? And they were known as the allied powers. So allied powers further joined by Italy and United States, as well as Romania, right? So that is what you can consider. So starting in 1914 and ended in the 1918, right? So that is what you can consider. Now in the militarism, which means the dangerous and burdensome mechanism of some great standing armies, right? If some country is having a great standing army, then why it should be burden for other countries? But there had been some of the motivations, काही महत्वाकांक्षा असतात. So with the help of that particular great army or a great standing army, someone always look to influence, and that has been happened, right? So another point was narrow nationalism. That is what the love of one's country demanded the hate to other or hatred to other. It should not be, right? For example, love of Germany demanded the hatred of France and vice versa, right? तसं जर्मनी कळीचा नारद होता त्याच्या सगळ्या पर्टिक्युलर केसमध्ये, right? And then the economic imperialism, right? So this has actually led international rivalries, and every country tried to capture markets in every corner of the world. And obviously this competition, right, for economic imperialism led the bitterness and heart burning. So it has also become one of the reasons of this particular war. Further, Germany had become a great industrial country and wanted to have more markets for trading. So Germany was jealous of the colonial and naval greatness of the England, right? Got it? So that was the reason you can consider, right? So in today's scenario, there is a competition between different kinds of vaccines for the this pandemic or COVID situation, right? So in those days also, so Germany was industrialized, and Germany was looking for as many as possible markets for trading purpose, right? And it was jealous by the great control and large number of colonies by England, right? So the emperor of Germany, known as William II, was very ambitious, right, Mahatokankshi, and wanted to gain influence in Turkey by uh, linking a Berlin with the Baghdad railway station, railway line, right? So in order to influence the Turkey, and this has given a rise to a great rivalry between England and Germany, because England was feared that if they could set up such kind of connection between these two countries, and if they could influence Turkey, then some of the let's say part of trading, markets of the trading will be lost by England. So that was the reason you can consider. And then, as already you know, William II was ambitious, so he wanted Germany to be emerged as the strongest, uh, strongest power in the world, and therefore he believed in the policy of world power of downfall, right? आता हे सगळं होत असताना everything was happening, and there was no agency in the world who can supervise these things, and who can control, or who can suggest some of the things so that it could have been avoided, right? That is what the lack of international organization, right? So lack of international organization to control international relations, right? So that was another point which was really important. In all these, there had been some immediate causes, right? For example, the murder of the Ferdinand, who was the Austrian throne, right? And his wife Sophie, who were killed, right? So, and their territory was annexed by Serbia, right? So killing the head of the country and annexing that particular territory by Serbia. So Serbia got annexed Austria. So that was immediate reason. And then Austrian held the government of Serbia responsible for the murder of their supremo, right? That is called Ferdinand. And then they, in response of that, they attacked back on Serbia, right? And there had been a strong rivalry between Austria and Hungary, right? Austria and you can consider the Hungary and on one side, and Serbia in the opposite side. So there already there have been great rivalry between Hungary and Serbia. So now this reason, right? Something happened with the Austria. So Austria and Hungary came together, and they sorry for this. They attacked back on Serbia, and there had been the war started, right? No doubt, Austria wanted to be it at local, right? So, but the people got joined, or the country joined these things, and there had been broke out of a world war called World War I. Right? Now it was ended in 1918, and there had been a peace settlement. Right, so Central Powers completely defeated by Allied powers. Right, so obviously the role played by Russia and USA, right, was turned. Otherwise, Germany could have emerged as victories, right? And as probably the Central Powers could have been emerged as victorious. So in this, uh, now Central Power lost, I may say that, and it was followed by, and then war was ended in 1918, and which was followed by the conference called Conference for the Peace, right? And through this, uh, now there would be some issues which will be resolved, right, related to the territory or the borders of the countries of particularly of European countries, and uh, number of countries have been taken part in this peace conference, right? So many different countries have been have participated in the conference, which was called Peace Settlement Conference, right? So altogether 27 different countries had been the part of this conference, right? And they have come together to make the terms of peace treaties, right, which were decided by only three countries. So United States of America, Britain, and France. Only these three countries have decided the points of treaties. Right. So these have played an important role in this one. That to be only three persons from these three countries have played a great role in determining as well as framing the terms of the treaties. Right. So Woodrow Wilson, who was the president of the United States of America, Lloyd George, who was the prime minister of Britain, and uh, George Clemenceau, who was the prime minister of France. Right. So they have taken a prolonged discussions for the points or the terms of treaties, and they have come up with a Treaty of Versailles, right, which was in the France, right. It was taken in France, so it was called Treaty of Versailles. So in this particular case, now it has to be signed by all the Central Power countries as well as the Allied Power countries, right. So very first Germany signed it, right, and this treaty was helpful in rearranging the boundaries of Europe, particularly uh, some of the new countries such as Poland, Yugoslavia, Estonia, Lithuania, likewise, right. But William II, who was the emperor of Germany, was was uh, as already we have considered, he was ambitious, right. So it was decided that he would be abdicated, right. त्याला पाय उतार व्हावंच लागेल, and he had been what you can consider taken asylum, right. And that was the point you can consider. See, the ambitious people will always follow this kind of way in their life. If they could not achieve something whatever they want, they will definitely leave that particular point and they will go in other let's say field wherein they will again go for ultimate high or the something which is ultimate, right. So in the same way he had taken, right, asylum, right, after abdication as the emperor, right? So the treaty was containing the provisions for disarming the Germany, right, and therefore the strength of army of Germany was limited to only 1 lakh troops, right. And uh, Germany has to pay some money for war reparations for damage done by the allied parties, right, or allied power, right. So this was the Treaty of Versailles, which was followed by some other treaties called uh, Treaty of Germain, Treaty of Neuilly, Treaty of Trianon, and Treaty of Sevres. So This is what you can consider. No doubt there had been Woodrow Wilson's 14 points, right, which were always being considered, right. So as far as this peace settlement, right, uh, of peace settlement conference, right, which was concluded in 1920, which has been severally criticized. Obviously, it has to be criticized because which was completely influenced by these three countries, and in real sense, nothing was heard from Germany, right? And for all the effects, Germany was blamed, right? Even they have disarmed त्यांचं सैन्य बल कमी केलं. So all these things were really not balancing the situation, and for that purpose, because of that, the peace settlement was severely criticized. So, yeah, in terms of Treaty of Versailles, which was very harsh and humiliating for Germany, right, that you can consider. So the settlement was based on the principle called "to the victors belong to spoils and allies of the victors." असं होत नाही, right? So, in short, harsh and humiliating point, right? What that is, the Treaty of Versailles, and that was really making some what you can say nonsense with the Germany. Fine. This is what you do have in the First World War, right? Okay. The second one is the next point, and probably the last one is Second World War. Now, see, in this case, if you try to look into the causes of World War II, so it's all the roots were already in the Treaty of Versailles, right? So which was monopolied, right? Which have sowed the seeds of the Second World War, right? Because of harsh and humiliating decisions on the Germany, right? And obviously, it was not acceptable. So, the Treaty of Versailles that you can consider was the great one of the great causes. What was there, right? Or what were the implications of the Treaty of Versailles, right, which was signed in the Peace Settlement Conference. So, as I said already, it had germs of Second World War, and according to this treaty, Germany was very badly treated, right? So Germany was forced to sign this particular treaty at the point of going in the spirit of revenge, and because of this treaty, the Treaty of Versailles, right? And because of this, now the Hitler now joined hands with the Mussolini, right, of Italy. So if you just think Nazism, right,